Hola clase, today we're going to be going over our new vocabulario para el capítulo 7a, so chapter 7a vocab. This has to do with articles of clothing as well as like the basics of a shopping trip. Okay, so we have buscar, and that is to look for. So whenever we use buscar, we don't need to have like a por or a para, which both mean for afterwards, because that's already included in the verb. So it's just like, yo busco una camisa. I'm looking for a shirt. Okay, comprar is to buy. These are both regular AR verbs. El dependiente or la dependienta, that's a salesperson, depending on their gender. ¿En qué puedo servirle? How can I help you? And this is speaking formally. If it was speaking informally, like to a two, it would be en qué puedo servirte. We don't really use this too much, but it's there. Entrar, that's to enter, so that's a cognate. La tienda is a store, and then we have la tienda de ropa, and we know from last chapter that ropa is clothing, so then we can put that together. La tienda de ropa would be a clothing store. Okay, next up we are getting into our articles of clothing. El abrigo is a coat. La blusa is a blouse, so this is going to be like a nice women's shirt. Las botas, this is a false cognate, so it sounds like boat, it's actually boot. Okay, so las botas are boots. Los calcetines, those are socks. A single sock is el calcetín, and there's an accent on the I. La camisa is your general word for shirt. So la blusa is a type of camisa, but you can't use them interchangeably. Like you can just use camisa as like a blanket word for shirt, and if I'm talking about a specific type of shirt, like a blouse or a t-shirt, then I will use those words, okay? La camiseta is a t-shirt. The way to remember those is camiseta has a T in it because it's a t-shirt. La chaqueta, it's a cognate, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it. It sounds like jacket, chaqueta, la chaqueta. Okay? Next up, la falda, that is a skirt. La gorra, and this is a cap. This is like a ball cap style cap. If we're talking about like a beanie, that would be el gorro. So it depends on what type of hat. So the gender of this word really does kind of change the meaning of it. They both mean cap, but it changes the style of the hat or the cap that it is. El sombrero is another word for a hat, and you guys have probably heard that or said that. El sombrero is a general word for hat. Los jeans, if you can't figure this out, I can't help you. And they're pronounced exactly like they are in English. This is just an American word that has been adopted into the Spanish language. Jeans are also called vaqueros, tejanos, mecánicos, pituzas. They kind of vary with what they're called around the Spanish-speaking world, but if you call them los jeans, people will know what you're talking about. Los pantalones are pants. We don't ever use them in the singular, el pantalón. That kind of sounds weird, but same thing in English. We call them pants and not, oh, I'm wearing a pant. That sounds weird. So same thing in Spanish, los pantalones. And then we have los pantalones cortos, and you can put out the whole thing because it's literally like the short pants. But we just call them los cortos because why would you have to say los pantalones cortos? Because that's too long. So los cortos, those are shorts. La sudadera, this is a sweatshirt. El suéter, that's a cognate, that's a sweater. El traje is a suit. And then el traje de baño, we know that baño has to do with the bathroom or bathing, so el traje de baño would be a bathing suit or a swimsuit. El vestido, this is a false cognate. It looks like vest, it is dress. Okay? El vestido is dress. Los zapatos, those are shoes. And a lot of people are going to try to put like the stress on the O or on the second, or on the first day, los zapatos, or los zapatos. But the stress should be on the second to last syllable, los zapatos. Okay? Shoes. Como me queda, or como te queda, how does it fit me, or how does it fit you? So our subject here would be whatever article of clothing. So this verb works like gustar. And so you conjugate it based on whatever article of clothing you're trying on. So like, ¿cómo te quedan los zapatos? How do the shoes fit you? Okay. And then you would answer that with with me queda bien or me queda mal. Let me move my little, there we go. And so again, this is telling who it fits. This is reflecting of what is fitting and then telling well or not. Okay. Next up, llevar. This is a handy word. We're using it in this chapter as to wear. It also means to carry or to take. So it's a very, very handy verb. Llevar. It's a regular AR verb. Nuevo or nueva is new, like Nueva York is, New York. It's important that you spell it right, because if you put an E at the end, then it's 9, and that changes the meaning. Quizás is maybe. Perdón is excuse me. It's like pardon me. Vamos, let's go. You guys probably heard me say this one. ¿Cuánto cuesta? So we know that cuánto is how much, and then cuesta is to cost. It's a form of costar. And then again, cuesta or cuestan, depending on if we're talking about like cuánto cuestan los zapatos versus cuánto cuesta la camisa. How much does the shirt cost versus how much do the shoes cost? This is based on what you're asking about. And then we have costar, which is our verb for to cost. It is an O to UE stem changer, which we see here. You're not really going to use this in the yo, to, nosotros, or vosotros forms. At least I hope not. You should not be asking how much how much someone costs. You should not be asking that about a person. Be like, hey, how much do you cost? No. Okay, so we're really only going to use that in the cuesta or cuestan form. Okay, el precio, the price, that's cognate. Tanto is so much. So be like, oh man, los zapatos cuestan tanto. The shoes cost so much. Okay. Then we're getting into our numbers up to 1,000. So we know our numbers 1 through 100. 1 through 15 have to be memorized. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's 1 through 15. And then from there on out, we do the tens and ones. Like 20 or 31, 30 and 1. 10 y 6, 10 and 6, 16. So then we're just going to add this part to the beginning. 201, 100 or 201. But we don't have to have that E in español. 202, 202. 299, 299. Okay? So 200, if we remember that cien looks like 100, like cien, like if we're talking about like Latin roots, like centimeter, centiliter, centipede. Okay, cien has to do with 100. And if we remember from Spanish 1, that cien, once we go over 100, then we change it to ciento. And so we kind of have that base here to start with. So then we have 2 hundreds. Then 300, and I will note that these will change to feminine if we're talking about something that is feminine, like 200 camisas, 200 shirts. 300, 300, 400, 400. So again, it's spelled like 4 hundreds. Okay, then we get into some of the irregular ones. So in general, 5s, 7s, and 9s are irregular. 5s are weird all the way through. It like flip-flops from like cinco to quini something. So we had like cinco was 15 or 5. Cinco's 5, and then we have quince, which is 15, and then we have cincuenta, which is 50, and then we get back into the Q's, quinientos, which is 500. So the 5s are weird. Quinientos, 600, 600, 700, we lose the I in siete, 700, 800, that one's regular, and then 900 instead of nueve. So it's kind of like 90, 900. And then 1000 is 1,000. And if you note here, I have a decimal point here instead of a comma. In Spanish-speaking countries and in a lot of places in Europe, the decimal point and the comma are switched. Okay? So this is not 1.000, this is 1,000. And we'll talk more about that in class. Okay, so that's the end of our numbers. And once you know 1 through 1,000, honestly, you can do anything else. You can go up into the millions and billions, because then it just tacks on just like it does in English. Like, 800,000 would be 800,000. Okay, And then we have a tener phrase. So going back to our list, tener phrase, tener razón is to be correct. It's literally to have reason. Okay, so that's one of those tener phrases that doesn't translate exactly like it looks. Okay, los dos or las dos would be both, depending on if we're talking about masculine or feminine things. And then we get into our this and these and that and those. So we have este and esta are this. Estos and estas are these. So a good way to remember it, or let me get into this and then I'll give you the rhyme. Let me finish it. So then we have ese and esa are that, and esos and esas are those. Sorry, that is an error. That should say those. Okay. Let me get all the way back here. Okay. So the way to remember this is that because these are so similar, so this and these have T's, that and those don't. And that's the easiest way to remember it. This and these have T's, that and those don't. And the only difference between this and that is that this is closer to me than that is. It all has to do with the relative distance to the speaker. Okay? And then we have some new verbs. So we have pensar, which is an E to IE stem changing verb, and that is to think or to plan. We have preferir, which is another E to IE stem changing verb, and that's to prefer. It's a cognate. And querer, E to IE again, and that is to want. And so now I have a slide on the next page that's just kind of an example reminder of what a stem changing verb looks like. So this is querer, obviously to want. So yo quiero. So I change my E to an IE. Tú quieres, change my E to an IE. Usted, él, ella quiere, change my E to an IE. And then we have no stem changes in the nosotros and vosotros forms. So nosotros queremos, vosotros queréis. And then ustedes, ellos, ellas quieren. So we have our stem change again. So we have our shoe. Okay. If we were looking at preferir, we're going to stem change this one. It's always the last vowel in the stem. So the pref part is going to stay the same. So it would be prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, preferís, and prefieren. Okay? If you have questions about this vocab, let me know. Shoot me an email. Hope you have a wonderful day. Adios.